With just 5 days to go until the referendum to decide whether to redraft the Chilean constitution and who should be responsible for the process, the country continues to see acts of police brutality and repression of anti-government protests. To discuss these issues and the tense situation in the lead-up to Sunday's vote, we welcome our correspondent Alejandro Kirk. Alejandro, thank you so much for joining us.
Greetings from Santiago. That's right. We're in the process. Within 5 days, we will have this constitutional plebiscite referendum in which the people will decide whether we want a new constitution or not, and who will write that constitution. The campaign is, all polls say that the option approve will win by a wide margin. But what remains to be seen is whether the victory will provide the two-thirds, over two-thirds of delegates that will have to be elected after the referendum in order to overcome the two-thirds majority required by the rules of this new convention or constitutional convention that has to be elected, and which will in fact provide a veto to the forces that are against the new constitution and want to provide a new text that will not change things fundamentally, and just to be a cosmetic change to the current constitution, which was designed and imposed by force by the dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet in the 1980s. So what's at stake now is that whether the establishment, which includes the right wing in government now, which is an extremist wing of the right in Chile, and the center-right and the so-called center-left that have had shared government with the right over the past 30 years, and both of which share a flair for the neoliberal system that was imposed in the 80s by the dictatorship. So what the popular revolt, the uprising was demanding, and it's still demanding, is an end to the neoliberal system. And but the forces against this are very powerful. It's not only a political issue, it's an economic issue mainly. The pension system privatized by Pinochet provides for most of the funding for the main enterprises in Chile. It's also a source of cash for banks to lend to people. 11.5 million people in Chile are in debt, heavily in debt with the banks, because there is no other way to survive in Chile if you're not borrowing money, and but only 7.5 people are employed. So that's creating a bubble that will explode somehow, somewhere. And the pension funds are probably the main issue behind the discontent that has been growing up in Chile, because it's a factory of poor people. You receive less than 30% of what you were earning before what you were working, and with little or none social benefits, health, or mainly health, which is a main issue when you're old. So the popular revolt continues. There was a massive demonstration on Sunday in Santiago and in many other cities of the country. Massive, that was a mass of people which was not expected by many, which also was even more angry than before because of the consequences of the pandemic, which has left 3 million people unemployed.
And Alejandro,
the situation is very dangerous at the moment. It's unstable in Chile. Go ahead.
Alejandro, sorry for interrupting you. You were talking there about the protests, and we've seen widespread repression suffered by the Chilean people at the hands of the police. It's made headlines for the past year. We've seen 2 recent examples of the abuses of human rights by the police in Chile against young demonstrators. What can you tell us about these latest acts of police brutality and the ongoing struggle for respect for human rights in Chile?
Well, this is a long struggle because since the dictatorship, the police and the army and the armed forces never changed its doctrine or its methods. On the contrary, they have been developing new forms of repression over the past in democracy, or what we call post-dictatorship. In the last few months, taking advantage of the pandemic, the Piñera government invested heavily in new equipment for repressing demonstrations and also for intelligence. And what we have seen in the last few weeks when this uprising is recovering and taking on the streets once again is that the repression is much more brutal, and they are also using infiltrators, intelligence, to provoke violence, burnings, arsonists, attack police headquarters in several neighborhoods, especially in the working class neighborhoods where the protest is more powerful. And only on Monday, on Sunday, the police killed a young man of 25 years old man in one of these working class districts. And 2 weeks ago, they threw over to the river a youngster of only 16 years of age who did not die, but was thrown out of a distance of over 8 meters. And this created a lot of outrage in the country, because what we're seeing now is that they're using more chemicals, tear gas that they buy in Israel, and new equipment for repression, but it's not the same as it was before the pandemic. This time it's more effective, it's more brutal, and now we're seeing killings, which did not happen in the months of the uprising. So the struggle for this new constitution is also a struggle against impunity and also against the corruption in this police that you see every day, some kind of abuse by cops, be that in the context of demonstrations or otherwise in the normal life of people. And the corruption is going through all ranks of these carabineros, the police force of Chile, which many in this country are demanding to be dissolved and start from anew something that is truly democratic and respectful of human rights.
Alejandro Kirk, teleSUR correspondent in Chile, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for offering your insight.